All right. What are you holding on to now that you feel is holding you back?
Ooh, a lot of traumas I feel and fears that I have from probably my childhood that I'm not even aware of. I've been working through it a lot, I feel like, but there's always that type of fear that keeps coming back. Like, I
Hmm.
guess that lack mindset. So I'm fearful of not ever having enough. And I've been digging deep as to why I think I'm in lack when really I'm not. I should be thinking I'm abundant, right? And I have all the basics that I need to provide for my child and my family. But I still always have like this little thing in me that I'm feeling like I'm lacking or fearful of.
Mm.
That's been tough. It's a lot of inner child work for sure, and traumatic. I don't even know what, but I guess tapping into my inner child is probably gonna dig a little deeper. But it's scary. It's scary to do that work. It's
It
hard.
is scary, but it is, as someone who has done it for a few years now, so worth it.
Yeah,
It's
it's
it's it's hard, it's
yeah,
scary, and you have to, really reparent yourself, but it is so necessary and so worth it.
yeah. It's hard. It's hard to dig into why you're so scared because you have this feeling of like where your body kind of shuts down because it's like right? And then you're like, I don't want to tap further into it. But if you keep going and dive deeper into it, you're like, okay, wow, there's like some underlying issue or something that happened. And when you
Mhm.
work through it, you finally let it go and like let it out of your mind and your body, you know?
Yeah, it does. It's hard, but this is why I tell everybody, listen, if you heard the podcast before, therapy and Jesus, I tell you all the time. Well, welcome to another episode of Take Space Podcast. I'm your host, Leah, and today I'm joined by Coach Kathy Mou, like cow. This is a wonderful woman who I met a few weeks back where we talked about a lot of things, including, building yourself and empowering yourself and then affecting other people and how that really changes your circle. She's an author. She has a journal out. She's a podcaster herself. It's called Ignite Your Power Podcast. You can check out her website, check out her social media. She's just a really wonderful personal coach who definitely seeks to empower others as she's learning to really embrace and empower herself. Welcome to the show, Kathy.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Leah, and thank you for that fantastic intro. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't say anything that wasn't true. So,
It's nice to hear it back because when you do so much, you don't really realize it until you say it. I'm like, oh my gosh, wow. So thank you for that.
yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the conversations that we had previously, there was a question that you asked me that made me, it's been sitting with me for weeks now. When you said, how did you get to this point of where you are? For obviously you all were not present for the conversation, but in our conversation, we talked a lot about how I have grown from being this really assertive, direct, harsh sometimes person, like the lovable a-hole, whatever, to now being more kind and compassionate and gracious and softer, not so quick to get angry. Not saying that I'm perfect or anything, but there's been a lot of growth. It's been a lot of growth where I would typically like used to blame people to now I'm like, wait, let's zoom out and understand the context of the situation. They didn't do anything to hurt me on purpose. They were in their own world and I just happened to get in their way for some reason about whatever, and it hurt my feelings. And so it's been something that I've been thinking about, like, how did I get here? And growth takes time, is
Yes.
what I came out of that with after just sitting with that for a while.
Wow, that's so beautiful that you actually sat with that for weeks, though. And isn't that beautiful that you don't rush the process, you just let it come to you. And when you finally figure it, you're like, oh, it really is that easy, though.
It, you know what? It, the thoughts and understanding what you need to do is easy.
Mm-hmm.
The consistency is what's difficult.
Yeah.
And you asked me another question of like, or no, you, well, another question came out of it, which was like, why did I change?
Yeah.
And and I was like, well, what happened? And I think I was tired of apologizing because I always felt like I always had to apologize. I always had to, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. That's not the way and I was like, is there a better way to do this the first time without always having to apologize? One. Two, I didn't like how people were describing me.
Mm-hmm.
And we have said on the show multiple times, you cannot control other people's narratives. But when people who you trust paint a picture of you and you don't really care for that picture, there's a need for a change.
Yeah.
And so just doing self-reflection has helped me. It's taken me years to get to where I am. I'm not going to lie, it did not happen overnight. I had to, like you talked about, living in a state of lack for so long that it becomes a part of your DNA.
Yeah.
I had to unlearn those things. And then after you unlearn that, you have to live the life that reaffirms the new ideas that you have learned.
Yeah. And
And
it's hard.
it's work.
It is. That's
Oh,
why I
it's work.
say you are amazing to put in that hard work. And working on yourself is actually one of the hardest things that you can ever do for yourself. And think about it, but it's so rewarding at the end. And a lot of us don't want to put in that work. But at the other side of it, like you put in so much work to be someone's best friend or, the best sister or, best daughter or a friend or a spouse or a partner, but you never do that for yourself. Why is that?
Mm,
Why? We should be doing that for ourselves. We should be our first priority, to be honest. We should. Because then we would all show up as a better person if we
yeah.
all go deep with those questions. And this is why a lot of us are always on the surface and everybody's so butthurt or something, like so sensitive, because we all have a lot of triggers. A lot, right? Just like what you said earlier, you're like, oh yeah, other people would trigger me and I would get butthurt or something, like your
Hmm.
emotions were off. And it's like, it's because what other people are doing. And when you get hurt, that's a reflection of something you haven't worked on. Something's triggering that emotion to come out.
Yeah.
And so the more you work on yourself, this is why self-love, self-care is so, so important. And then just, knowledge, like learning every day just to be a better person is super important just for overall development and just to be who you truly are. And so you're the perfect example of this, which is beautiful that you do the hard work. It's hard. I remember I kept telling you, I was like, trust me, doing, getting to know yourself and understanding your traumas and all this, it's a lot. Not
It is.
easy.
So, what has your personal journey been like in learning yourself, loving yourself, empowering yourself? Because that's another step that some people are afraid to take. How did you start your journey, and where do you feel you are on that journey?
Ooh, I love this question. This is really good. It's tapping into those deeper whys and, why it led me into all of this. And so actually, I started truly empowering myself in 2019 when I was going through my infertility journey.
Mm,
During my whole life, I've been a people pleaser. Most of us are, right? We're taught to like care about what others people think. I
hmm.
grew up trying to be a perfectionist because my parents, again, digging in a little bit deeper, I noticed that my parents wanted me to be that perfect child. So then I always thought I had to be perfect in order to just be able to survive. That's actually not true, honestly. No one's ever perfect. But so my whole life, I've always been people pleasing, perfectionist, doing things for other people versus myself. And in 2019, when I was going through infertility, I had to change something. So for a whole year, I was trying naturally with my husband to conceive and nothing
Hmm.
came about of it, right? So every month I would take pregnancy tests to get negative test results. And that was super depressing. It put me in like a depressed state. I was super anxious. I just was not myself. And so finally, a year of that, And in the US healthcare system, you have to try, I guess, for a whole year until you can finally say you're infertile. So I did wait for that whole year mark to finally book in a doctor's appointment with the OBGYN and like infertility specialist, etc. after that year. And so that's when I started empowering myself to get my health back to optimal health, or it just in health in general, so I can conceive a child.
Mm.
Um, but at that time, though, in 2019, I was like, oh, I am healthy because previously, like since 25, I've been eating pretty healthy. I believe, like eating nutrient dense foods and like working out like Monday through Friday. I was like, okay, I'm super healthy. But no, there's a lot of other things that affect your health, like your
Yes.
stress levels, epigenetics, like how much toxins is around your environment, etc. Right? There's a whole lot of things,
Oh
and I
yeah.
didn't really know all of this until I started empowering myself, meaning taking action to get the life that I want. So I really wanted to be a mom instead of crying for a whole year, right? For 2019 to 2020, I was crying every single day. And then 2021 was the year I was like, okay, I'm just so sick of not doing anything and not like truly using my power, my knowledge, my actions to get what I want. And then my twin sister too was like, Kathy, are you doing everything in your power really to make this baby happen for you? And I thought about it and I was like, that's true. I'm truly not though. Like I can eat
Mm.
healthier, right? Like I can take it to another level. I can do some more research, right? And then go see specialists. Like that's what I did. And so 2021 for the whole year, I got therapy because I couldn't handle it. Like my mental health was in so bad shape because I was depressed. I never thought I would
Mm.
be. So I got help in that aspect. I went to acupuncture to try to help with my body. And then I booked IVF appointments like with doctors, specialists. So I took action. And then I also changed my diet too, doing a bean protocol where I would try to get as much toxins out of my body. And so you eat a lot of fiber to help regulate my hormones. And so
Hmm.
I did a lot of research. I had to do all these things. And then later on, finally, through my empowerment journey, in the end, I ended up actually conceiving my daughter naturally after doing IVF and then getting a miscarriage. So that is how my journey kind of, you know, um, showed itself to me after just 1 year of truly empowering myself, learning, and not letting my circumstances or the outside noise determine my life for me.
That's amazing.
Thank
That I couldn't imagine being in such a state where I want something really bad and it's just not happening. You see other people and it's just like it happens on accident, or they didn't have to work as hard, or they just happened to get it, right? And then you're on
you.
the other hand like, I really really want this. And
Yeah,
I like that you decided that you had to take action.
yeah,
And it's great that you have, your sister in your inner circle where she gets to ask you those hard questions. Are
yeah,
you really doing
yeah,
what everything that you could do?
yeah,
Because there's a lot of things that we could do when it comes to empowering ourselves that we don't need external forces to do it for us. Everybody could probably empower themselves if they had a couple, $100,000 in their account, right?
mhm,
Or if they had everything they needed handed to them. But if they truly had to work for it, what more could they do to ensure that this thing comes to fruition? Whatever it is, whether that's having a baby, whether that is buying a house, moving across the country, getting a new job. What does empowerment look like in that space? But it's beautiful that you were able to go through that journey and now you have your daughter. That is such a cool like testimony that many people don't really see the other side of. They see the results and they want the results,
yeah,
but doing the hard work to get there, some people are like, I don't really want it that bad.
yeah,
So
yeah.
how would you describe your current space in your journey?
Yeah, so right now it's different. So that's the thing with your health journey and empowerment. It's just having those tools to know that you can push past it and the hard times, right? So right now
Mhm.
I'm a mom and it's a lot. I mean, when you're on a health curve or just life is like a roller coaster. It's up and down, right? But
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
embracing even the negative parts, knowing that I've been through the hardest thing that I believe that I've ever had to go through, which is having my daughter and being put in that situation. I feel like I can overcome anything, even though it's not always the result that I want so quick. And I think most of us struggle with this where you kind of tapped into it is like we want the result, but then we want it really fast. Like we want
Yeah.
it right away.
Mhm.
And you don't even put in the hard work. Why do you think that you're just going to manifest or have that outcome when you don't even put toward like, put action towards that goal or whatever you want? And so I've been struggling a lot with just like dealing with motherhood and then owning my own business and then actually working still a 9 to 5 job. I feel like that has been a lot for me because I have to figure out what's truly actually important to me in my life. And
Yeah.
stepping back finally, I'm like, okay, I had to look at the bigger picture. Like, yes, my business will always be there and I love what I do. It's always going to be there, but it doesn't, entail like what my worth is in that sense. And my daughter is the most important thing to me, and it took me forever to get her, and so
Yeah.
why am I not taking that time to be with her? So it's been a lot of like inner dialogue that I've been working through, and that's why I've been telling you I've been doing inner child work too, and this is where all this trauma and lack and beliefs that I've grown up to believe is
Mhm.
actually not true. So it's been a lot of work, but it's different. It's a different mindset that I'm working through now versus before, like during my infertility days. But
Yeah.
it's always working towards something to be your best self or you're the best version of yourself.
Okay. So now that you're a mom,
Yeah.
and we've talked a little bit about how traumas can impact our ability to reach our destination or even taking the first steps in our journey because of that fear, because of that trauma. We don't even want to, I don't want to leave the house. Like whatever shows up at my door is what I'll take, right? Um how how do you manage being a mom knowing that you have these triggers, these traumas, these conditioning that you had as a kid coming up, and now as a mom you're like trying to not only help heal that inner child, but ensure that you're passing on like the good things and building better cycles to pass on to your daughter. How do you balance that?
Oh, yeah. It sometimes is a struggle, but to be honest, since I've been doing a lot of inner work, I feel like it's much easier because my emotions are more calm and I won't let her reactions dictate how I feel. So
Mm,
if she's acting out, crying, and throwing a tantrum, I just have to be the calmest that I can and just be there for her versus what I grew up learning was like, you be quiet, stop crying. Like, and I would get
yeah.
punished for crying or having those feelings. But now I get to do the opposite and I get to be there for her and, be the parent that I wanted my parents to be for me, which is so
Mm,
beautiful to see. I mean, some days I'm not going to be perfect, right?
of
And
course.
sometimes I'm going to be stressful, but I notice. And then at the end of the day, I would apologize to her, like, sorry, mommy was very impatient with you today. But you have to let your child know that, it was not intentional because of their actions. It's because of my actions, is how I reacted and how I did not do a good job that day of regulating my emotions. So that's why a lot of inner child work is so important for you, if you want to, if you are a mother or a parent, in general, even an aunt, right? You don't want to be that aunt that blows up if your, niece or nephew is doing something bad. You just want to be there for them and try to like understand them. It's made me actually be very, very understanding and patient. And it's funny because a lot of people were like, wow, I would think that you were the opposite because before being a mom, I would blow up. I would be very agitated, irritated easily because
Hmm.
I never really worked on myself until my infertility stages. And I noticed that's not what I like. I don't like that about myself. That's something I've always wanted to work towards. And I was like, I don't think I could change this. This is me. This is me. But then the more I keep working on myself, I realize, like, yes, I can change. I can change if I really want to make a change, you know?
Yes.
Like you've been putting that hard work. You're like, whoa, I'm different than who I was before. And it's beautiful to see and blossom and become that person that you really want to be. And so now I get to be the best version that I can be for my daughter. And my husband is actually the opposite now. Like he's very stressed out, irritated. He kind of bursts more, but he used to be the chill person. And then like we kind of trade roles after parenthood. And everybody around us are like, whoa, it's so weird to see that change from you guys. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm doing my inner child work. I'm doing the work. I'm putting in the work. And he has not been. So you could see through how you parent.
That's really interesting. I have found something similar. So in my world, when I was the one who needed who needed to be calmed down because I'll go 0 to 60 or I'll be agitated or irritated or whatever the case. And other people would feel like they had to manage my emotions, right? Um, Now that I'm better at managing my own emotions, emotional regulation, emotional intelligence, and reading the room and things like that, I find that other people are not doing it as much. Yeah. And I wonder if that's because they had to take so much time or they had to be hyper aware of me. And because they're hyper aware of me, they had to mask um, or ignore their emotions to make sure I'm good. And sometimes sometimes when I think about that, I'm just like I just apologized to my sisters the other day. We were watching something and this girl was going off super early in the morning to her people. And I was like, y'all, I apologize. That is a lot of energy. So like they just woke up. Why is she on 10 already? And I was just like, I used to be there, like drama for no reason. And it's very interesting seeing it from a side of going through the healing process and seeing people who are not. And I wonder if because I have done work, it's not that everybody else is wrong or we're all just on different parts of our journey. But it's very interesting to see how that dynamic shifts when we start our healing journey. What does that look like for the people in our circle? How does that change our dynamics in relation to each other?
Ooh, that's true. It does change certain ways, right? So say you didn't have boundaries with certain people and then now you learn to have boundaries, for example, right? So people will try to, keep attacking you until they can get through your boundaries. But if you're that new person and you stand strong with saying, I have these boundaries and you can't get past it, people will know, right? Like then they'll energetically know, like, okay, I can't push your limits anymore. But it's the opposite, right? When you are learning and healing, people can be more themselves around you, right? Like they won't be at that high alert anymore. They get to be their true selves. They get to say what they really want to say versus like saying, oh, I don't want to trigger her. Like I don't want to say that. Letting them be less, scared to be around you, which is good. Don't you want them to be like authentically themselves around you and all this fake type of it's not fake per se, but like not being their true self around you. Like I would always want my daughter to be herself always. Like I wouldn't want her to be scared to like not even tell me or show a side of her, to me, because I want to see every parts of her. I want to see the bad, the good, the everything, So
yeah,
be like that with everybody. And so I feel like once you do with that, you go through that healing journey, you see people being more open and honest with you more. Right. And them being their true self, you're like, oh, I didn't know you were actually that funny, or something like that. You start seeing different things show up. So I think that that's great. It's good.
It can be. And it's just very interesting. Like I I've noticed so many times where it's just like we're in a whatever situation, and I didn't realize the expectation was for me to go off or be combative or be whatever. And because after the situation passes, someone in my circle will be like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you,
Yeah.
or oh, that was so good. And I'm just looking at them like, what are you even talking about? But I realize they're not in the journey with me every day. They're not through like all the stuff that I had to work through, all the times that I had to cry at night, the times where I'm like sitting here praying, like, Lord, I'm really trying to not be this way. And, or I really want to learn a better way to understand. And going through those things, it has allowed me to show up more in other spaces where now people in my circle get to see me as in different lights. And while I can be the other person if I need to be, but it's like I've been able to regulate in a way that would help me to better manage the situation, because now I don't think about what's going to feel good to me in the moment because you disrespected me. So now I got to tell you about yourself. It's like, no, no, no. What is the end goal here? If we're at a food place and I'm looking to get food and somebody disrespects me, hey, I can go get food somewhere else.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's not that big of a deal. I'm not trying to get arrested. I don't need to get into a fight. We're too grown, all these things. But I feel like it's important to also know that the journey is not just for you, which is something that took me a while to learn, because I'm doing all this work and I feel like the first year and a half of going through the healing journey, no one was throwing me a parade. I didn't get a trophy. I didn't get, phone calls. Oh my gosh, we want you to be on our show, blah, blah, blah. Like, nobody's giving me the kudos of all this work that I'm doing in the first year and a half.
Yeah.
But as I started growing more in these last few years, I'm learning that it's not, I'm not doing this for the kudos. One, I want to be able to experience other people's energy, other people's lives and relationships. So that's why I'm doing it, to be a better me. But the great side of that is that I'm inspiring other people to take a step back, think about things differently, to engage a little bit differently, to understand differently. There was a situation where um, someone had lost their godfather, and their godfather passed away, and they were like, oh my goodness, called their parents and was like, hey, my godfather passed away and I'm really sad about it. And the parents were like, okay, send me the information for the funeral, blah blah blah. There was no comfort, there was no anything. And I told her, I was like, hey, your parents are dealing with their dying mother, right? They're really close to death and they probably didn't have the capacity to give you the compassion that you needed in that moment.
Yeah.
I didn't have that before.
Wow.
I didn't have the wherewithal to be able to understand more than what's going on in the situation, like more than how come they didn't comfort you? How come they weren't there? Blah, blah, blah. But because I have the space, the capacity, and the will to want to grow, it's been easier for me to be more understanding, more compassionate, more gracious,
Yeah.
because we don't need all the stress. We
Yeah.
really don't. Life gives us so much stress. We don't need it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's such a great point because you're doing all that inner work. You're releasing all those triggers and negativity into your life. Your energy has space to hold more positivity into it. So that's why you're more aware, you're more conscious of like, oh, okay, well, let's look at the point of view from that person instead of like
Right.
getting triggered and be like, oh my God, they're just so inconsiderate, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, well, maybe, there's a different perspective and it's okay to have, different perspectives, but then being able to have that space and hold that space to be aware that other
Yeah.
people take it differently. or what are they going through at that time. And that's what a lot of our society, like, we need to learn this. We need to all learn this, to just be more compassionate and kind towards people, because literally everybody's going through their own battles. Everybody has, the hardships in life. We just don't know. We can't see it. It's going on in their brain, right? You never know if someone's depressed or not. They may
Yeah.
seem fine, but really they're depressed. And then that's why there's a lot of suicides that happen. You just don't know. So that's why we should all be kind and compassionate. And so I love that, how you just said that. You're like, whoa, I would have blew up, but then I'm actually held space and was able to process, that other people may have a different feeling or they're going through something. So just be kind. And it's beautiful.
It's kind of sad, it really is, that kindness and compassion are not pillars in our society as a whole.
I know.
It's like, get what you can, and then get some more for some of your people, but then, you know, leave the rest. There's not as much. I'm starting to see some more of it, which I'm grateful for, because there's little glimmers of hope,
Yeah.
little times where humanity has done a great job with surrounding each other, and I believe there is more love than hate in the world, but it's sometimes so hard to, especially if you're on social media a lot, it's hard to break through this cycle of hate, this cycle of negativity, this cycle of whatever it is that is bringing you down. And especially when we're seeing, oh, everybody has it together on social media. This person, yeah, you had to go through, XYZ, but you end up getting what you wanted. And I'm still struggling here. Like, I can't get this job, or I can't finish school, or I can't do blah, blah, blah. And it's not a situation of, and don't get me wrong, everyone, I'm not saying that this is a situation to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, because I want you to go back and like understand what that quote is about. It's not like I'm telling you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but having a community around you that can hold you accountable would take you so much further in your healing journey, where you don't feel like an island unto yourself, because that gets very lonely. That can be very defeating. Like, we as people are communal. We have to be around people.
Yeah.
How much further can some of us get if we had the right people who would challenge us, hold us accountable? Didn't you say that you're working on X?
Mm-hmm.
Are you writing that book? Are you going to the gym? Do we need to meal prep together? How are you doing with your anger today? Have you signed up for therapy? When's the last time you've been to church? Having those conversations where it's less confrontational and more accountability from people who you can trust makes a huge difference in the way that we heal and how we show up for each other.
Yeah, that's why it's so important. Like, the people you surround yourself with really represents who you are. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're hanging out with people that are so negative and that talk crap about people all day, guess what? You're going to be doing the same, or you're surrounding yourself with that type of energy all day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is why you need to create a really positive group, people that will uplift you. And that's why I think community is one of the best ways to heal in general, because that's how I healed and
Yeah.
overcame depression and infertility and IVF, whatever. Going through hard times is knowing that other people are going through the same thing as you. You overcome things faster because they're giving you knowledge that they've been through it before. So then
Mm-hmm.
you just take that and try to apply it as best as you can, and then you'll see the results. So if
Yeah.
you don't have people with the same things that you're going through, or the same interests, or wanting to be positive, etc., you're never going to get there. It's going to be, well, I'm not going to say never, but that road is going to be really tough. It's going to be tough, where you're more likely going to fail than succeed if you have that right community of people. So thank you for mentioning that. And another thing I want to add, when you were saying about how there's so much negativity in this world. Yeah, it's because our society is made to make things so negative. Like you said, there's more positivity in this world, but it's never broadcasted. No one's
Right.
broadcasting, positive news. Like, oh yeah, like this person, help this person out today. Like, dude, there would be, if they actually showed all the positivity that goes on in the world, think about, the news would be on like all day long and so many different clips. I don't even think there would be enough like time to show all the positivity. But you know, we always pinpoint the one big negative things, etc., right? But there's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's because our society makes us be fearful. They make us think like we lack something. We're always trying to compare other people with each other,
Yeah.
like social media. It's, so if you try to be more aware and conscious of this, you know, of how society really programs us to think a certain way, then, you know, then you can empower yourself. That's a form of empowerment. Like, are you going to let that dictate your life? Like, yes, I can look at social media, but I'm not going to go and compare myself. Or yeah, I'll watch news just to kind of see what's going on, but I'm not going to let it be like, oh my god, Democrats or Republicans are going to like freaking dictate my life. No, chill,
Yeah.
chillax. You know, like the political system is just there to make us fight. No, let's, if we all care about one another, we all should love one another, be kind, and like what you said, we should all just be kind and generous to one another. Just little simple compassionate things. It's wild that we get to the extent now. Everything is so extreme, I feel. And there's no like medium anymore.
Right.
Right? Like when our parents grew up, my parents' generation, everybody was more in the medium. They're like, okay, I'm a little bit Republican or a little bit. I'm not trying to be
Mhm.
political here. I'm not political at all. I'm just trying to give an example of like how people used to think like more in the middle. Now everybody's like this, like either you're Republican, either you're Democratic, and blah blah. You know, it's like, okay, where did this extremity come from? Like where? Why? No, let's all get back to the middle and just care about human basic human beings. Okay, we just
Yeah.
love each other, we just care for each other. Let's just focus on that instead of like, who cares what side you're on? All this, there is no sides. We're all human beings and we should all love each other. Doesn't matter. That's it. Plain and simple, right?
It's become very polarizing in recent years, and people are more concerned with being right
Mm,
than doing the right thing.
yeah,
And doing the right thing is clouded because people are looking for clicks, for likes, for subscriptions, for endorsements, for the viral whatever, oh, this moment is going to go viral, or I want to boost this or do this. And it's like, if you can't find the thing that makes you passionate about helping other people, then being viral, regardless of how many times, because we've seen so many people go viral during the pandemic, and where are they now, right? But what kind of life are you leading? Like, are you happy at night when you lay your head down and you have accomplished all the things that you set out to accomplish, or you've accomplished one of the 15 things on your list? Because sometimes those are days where you're just like, look, I have a list. I know that I'm only going to get through 3 things today. And so I think it's more for self growth, for self harmony, understanding what the end goal is in our journey, understanding what our values are. That's what's going to lead us to the happiness. That's what's going to lead us to peace.
yeah,
And once I was able to reach that point of peace, now I understand why the older folks are like, nope, you're not going to come in here disrupting my peace.
yeah,
You can leave. I will cut you off. I will block you, whatever. I was like, yes, me too. I've reached that point. And it's a great feeling because as much as I do protect my peace, I do care about helping other people. I do care about connecting with other people. And just because you are on a healing journey, or because you feel that you are not as far as other people, or you haven't reached whatever realm of success that other people are in, you're comparing your day 1 or your day 35 to their year 14,
yeah.
you know?
Sense.
And social media is not a good gauge of success. There's no nuance on social media. You're
No.
polarized left or right. That's it. There's no gray. You're either black or white, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I think that having a community that you can actually have real conversation with and have those nuanced conversations and understand who you are, how you present to other people can definitely help you get started on that health journey of that healing. Whether you're healing your inner child, healing some negative thoughts, getting through depression, it's going to be important to have that community and have the people around you who can hold you accountable and challenge you to do well.
Yeah, so true. And then having the courage to empower yourself, taking that first step to ask for help and to finally get help. Because a lot of us don't. And like for me, I thought like going to a therapist, there was something wrong with me, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I was grown up thinking like if you go to a therapist, you must be crazy or woo woo. It's like, no, actually, it's great
Hmm.
that you go see a therapist. You're talking about all these traumas and doing the inner work, having that mind or your mindset change and working on that. That's great. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's very interesting that people will go to the dentist
Mm-hmm.
every 6 months. They'll go get their oil change every 3 months. They'll go to the doctor every year for their physical. They will, get maintenance on their home, clean out their gutters. But when it comes to mental health, oh, I'm fine. You you got fired after being at your job for 5 years and pouring everything into it, and somebody else took your position, or you just lost your child, or you just lost your parent, or you had to leave everything and start over because you got deployed. There are so many things that people are just like, oh, I'll just get over it, but they have such lasting mental, emotional, spiritual effects. So I've heard that so many times, like you said, if you're going to a therapist, something's wrong with you. You 5150, you belong in the nut house. But whether it's talk therapy or other interventions that require you to receive the help you need, it's important to just start somewhere, whether it's talking to your elders in your community or having an understanding of, I need to do, just like you said, Kathy, I need to do whatever it is I need to do within my power to reach whatever the goal is.
Yeah.
Crying about it does not make it happen.
No.
Being upset about it does not make it happen. Blaming it on other people does not make it happen. Once you start taking action, whatever that action looks like, whether it's starting with community, whether it's starting with finding a new job, whether it's starting with going back to school. And y'all, I'm gonna tell you, school is definitely kicking my butt, but I'm still doing it. And regardless of what it is, you have to make the effort to start to jumpstart your life in the direction that you want to go.
Yes, exactly. Don't blame the world, don't blame others. Just accept the situation, accept your life and just be like, "Okay, I have a lot of power. What can I do today to start changing my life?" That's it. That's it. You don't have to think about A B C D E F. It's too much. What can I do in this moment right now to change my life? That's it. And then you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. If you even give yourself that moment to even think about.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you so much. This was such a cool conversation.
I know.
This is your time to plug anything that you have that you want the people to come check out, to follow you. Take it away.
Yay! Yes, so right now I'm doing a lot of numerology guidance card readings. I love doing it. It's through coaching. I'll give you some coaching on something that you need help with. And then we'll do like a card reading to ask your guides or angels on what direction you need to do just to confirm what we talked about. And I think it's just a powerful tool to have if you've been stuck with something. Um, and I feel like it's very useful. And so I'm doing those. You can go check that out and book it on my website at www.kathymou.com, or check out my podcast if you have not heard of me or want to learn more about what I do or like what I teach. Ignite Your Power. It's on every platform as well, Spotify, Apple, at my website as well. And I'm also on social. And if you just DM me there and just have any questions, feel free to just DM me. I will respond back to you. On Instagram, I'm Kathy.Mou. And then Facebook and TikTok, I'm just Kathy Mou.
Awesome. Well, thank you for such a cool conversation. I hope that you all have enjoyed it as much as I did. It's great sometimes to do some reflection on how much work you have done. Like Kathy said in the beginning, you do all these things, and it's not until you hear them back to go, wow, I have accomplished quite a bit. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. Please make sure to go follow Kathy, and then make sure you follow us at Take a Space Podcast. So it's Take a Space POD, Facebook, Instagram, and X. Well, Twitter. I still call it Twitter. And make sure to follow us on YouTube at Take a Space Pod. Thank you so much, Kathy. We'll see you next time. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.